The Syncretion of Polarization and Extremes, Part 42. Shrinking Space for Dialog, Pakistan. Transposing Emblem by Kashif. Pakistan, a mostly Muslim country with a history of long-term military dictatorships, often appears in the news due to some cataclysmic events or incidents. After separating from British India, we enjoyed a healthy environment for dialogue over the first 2 to 3 decades, where several movements emerged and successfully engaged the masses. However, in 1974, the first lockdown was witnessed when, under the extreme pressure of Muslim fundamentalists, a second amendment was adopted for the Constitution of Pakistan, and the Ahmadiyya Muslims were declared non-Muslims. This amendment not only decreased the space for religious dialogue, but also opened the way for rigid Sunni Muslims to initiate a movement for declaring Shia Muslims as non-Muslims too. Hence, the previous religious dialogue turned into a state of no tolerance, and a door opened for religious terror throughout the country. Later, in 1977, when General Zia-ul-Haq imposed martial law in the country, there was a surge in religious intolerance. Mr. Zia started to reshape society by taking a specific fundamentalist approach. The changing political circumstances in the region, the Afghan-Soviet War, and the interests of Saudi Arabia and the United States also had a heavy impact on the policies of the government and society. The Prime Minister of Pakistan, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, was hanged, and the rest of the political leadership, workers, writers, journalists, and intellectuals were put behind bars. In particular, there was a crackdown on socialist and communist gatherings throughout the country. The intellectuals were barred and publicly punished with lashes. General Zia was not popular among the masses. He managed to create the impression that he was the savior of Muslims and was determined to restore the Islamic State. He started to collaborate with the United States and Saudi Arabia to support the Taliban's fight against the Soviet Union in Afghanistan. Under the influence of Saudi Arabia, General Zia encouraged the expansion of Islamic fundamentalists in Pakistan, which seriously damaged the dialogue culture in Pakistan. Writers were imprisoned, and pseudo-writers were introduced by the military establishment, working to promulgate the military agenda. The educational syllabus was revised throughout the country to Islamize society as General Zia desired. Jihad was glamorized, along with the idea that murdering a non-Muslim was a ticket to heaven. Special arrangements including literature, videos, and audio recordings were made by the military government to recruit people for jihad in Afghanistan. Young people were picked out and trained in military camps that were specifically designed for the training of Taliban members involved in the Afghan-Soviet War. No one was allowed to read or watch what they wanted. Freedom of expression was nowhere to be found. General Zia was a god, and the people were forced to live in a society shaped by him. That was the death of open dialogue. The generation that grew up in Zia's era did not have a chance to live in a society with different shades and colors in all aspects of life, including politics, religion, culture, research, education, norms, and values. Therefore, they were not prepared for the situation that they were going to face 1 decade later. After the death of General Zia in a plane crash, 1988, a space was created for the people who believed in dialogue. However, a huge gap emerged between post and pre-Zia generations. The new generation had grown up in a hard and tough situation with a single-shaded society, and was not capable of handling different opinions. It was impossible for them to understand that an alternative opinion can also be viable. The absence of dialogue culture in the new generation pushed them towards rigidness and intolerance. This resulted in both physical and verbal abuse in the society, from the streets to parliament. Physical abuse was frequently encountered, and even several dialogue sessions were aired live, with immoral and unethical physical abuse. It is due to the black time of Zia's era that the religious-based murder rate increased day by day. The most prominent example of intolerance was the murder of the governor of Punjab, Salman Taseer, by his bodyguard, Mumtaz Qadri, in 2011. He was murdered publicly because he supported the freedom of a Christian woman named Asia Bibi, who was falsely involved in a so-called blasphemy case. and thanks to the influence of fundamentalists, the murderer could not be punished for several years, and when he was hanged, the entire country was shut down by protests. The funeral of Mumtaz Qadri was one of the largest funerals in the history of Pakistan, and many religious and political leaders attended the funeral. After this incident, religious terror engulfed society and seized the dialogue. To date, hundreds of thousands of people have been murdered in the name of religious terror in Pakistan. You are not free to support religious harmony or minorities. If someone belongs to a minority or sect and encounters social justice, no one will speak for them, and if someone does, they will be treated in the worst possible way. Mashal Khan is another example. He was brutally killed by a mob in the lobby of Abdul Wali Khan University, Mardan, in 2017. He was murdered over allegation of blasphemous posts on social media. However, after his death, a police investigation confirmed that he was not involved in any blasphemous activities. No one came to rescue him at the time of the brutal murder. The mob was charged with religious intolerance, and unfortunately, graduate students and university officials were part of the mob. Despite all the bad circumstances, social media is making a difference. People use social media to discuss things that cannot be discussed in public places. Although there are several restrictions and limitations on it in Pakistan, Pakistanis living abroad are contributing a lot to the revival of dialogue in society. It is obvious that the situation is precarious for social media activists in Pakistan. Several bloggers have been illegally arrested by law enforcement agencies and never been seen in any court of law. Nonetheless, we are optimistic that the re-emergence of some dialogue will bring a return of the good days of openness we once enjoyed.